When I slice this tomato open, you're going to see deep red flesh so dense it barely bleeds, and understand why store tomatoes feel so empty by comparison. This is Mortgage Lifter. 2 pounds. And in 12 minutes, I'm biting into it raw next to a supermarket tomato so you can watch the difference. Stay with me. Hold on before we cut anything. You need to know why this tomato in my hand exists. Mortgage Lifter got its name in the 1930s when a guy named Charlie Biles, who never finished 6th grade, bred this exact variety in West Virginia and sold enough seedlings to pay off his house in 6 years. 6 years. During the Depression, people drove hundreds of miles because the flavor was so different. Not better marketing, not prettier packaging. Flavor. The kind of flavor that made people open their wallets when they had nothing. This tomato right here, this is what they were chasing. And I'm gonna show you exactly what he discovered and how it translates to what you can taste. Here's what we're doing today. I've got 3 heirloom varieties growing 10 feet from where I'm standing, and we're going to harvest them, weigh them, cut them open, and compare them directly to what you'd buy at the grocery store. No theories, no history lessons. Just side-by-side proof that your tongue can verify. First variety, Mortgage Lifter tomato. Second, dragon tongue beans. Yes, that's the real name, and you'll see why in a second. Third, Chioggia beets, which look like they've been painted by someone who's never seen a normal beet before. Let's start with the tomato. Watch my hand here for scale. I'm walking up to a plant that's about shoulder height, and this single tomato right here, still on the vine, is bigger than my fist. I'm going to twist it off. There. Feel that weight. This is 1 tomato. 1. No, here's a standard grocery store beefsteak tomato I bought yesterday. Set them side by side. The store tomato is maybe 6 ounces. This Mortgage Lifter, let's weigh it 1 pound, 14 ounces. 3 times heavier. That matters because weight in tomatoes means one thing: flesh density. More flesh, less water, more flavor compounds per bite. I'm gonna slice both of them now. The knife goes into the store tomato first. Hear that? Wet. Lots of resistance from the skin, then it just collapses. Look at the inside. See all that liquid? See how pale the flesh is? That's mostly water with a little tomato flavor trying to survive. Now the Mortgage Lifter. Knife goes in. Completely different resistance. The flesh is dense. It's almost meaty. Look at this cross-section. Deep red throughout, barely any seed cavities. What you're looking at is concentrated flavor. I'm not tasting it yet. We'll do that at the end, but you can already see the structural difference that creates taste. Here's why this happens. Modern hybrids are bred for shipping durability, uniform size, and disease resistance. Look at this store tomato again: thick skin for shipping protection, watery flesh for fast growth. That's what those breeding priorities produce. Heirlooms, like Mortgage Lifter, bred for flavor, period. They bruise easily. They crack when it rains. But look at this dense red flesh. That's what genetics optimized for sugar content, acid balance, and aromatic compounds actually looks like. You're looking at the physical result of completely different breeding goals. Dragon tongue beans. I'm walking over to the trellis now. These beans are flat, yellow with purple streaks there. You see them? They look like someone took a paintbrush to a wax bean. I'm picking a handful. They snap clean off the stem, and that snap tells you they're ready. Here's a standard green bean from the store. The store bean is round, uniform, and dark green. Dragon tongue is flat, mottled, and irregular. One looks like it came off an assembly line. The other looks like it grew. I'm going to snap both in half. Store beans first. Clean break, but look inside stringy, fibrous, kind of woody, even though it's supposed to be fresh. Now, dragon tongue. Snap it. Completely different texture. It's crisp, but tender. No strings. The flesh inside is almost buttery. You can see the moisture beating up, but it's not watery, it's concentrated. Dragon tongue beans develop natural sugars longer because they don't need to be picked unripe for shipping. Store beans are picked early, shipped hard, and they never finish developing. You're eating potential instead of actualized taste. Last one, Chioggia beets. I'm pulling one out of the ground right now. There, standard size, maybe 3 inches across. Here's a store beet. Both are dark red on the outside. Watch this. Store the beet first, the knife goes in. Standard dark red throughout. Now the Chioggia. Knife goes in and stop. Look at this. Red and white concentric rings, like a bullseye. These rings represent different flavor layers: earthy, sweet, mineral. The store beet has 1 note. This beet has 4. Here's the pattern across all 3. Heirlooms prioritize flavor complexity over commercial convenience. That means higher sugar content because they're bred for taste, not shipping. More aromatic compounds because genetics aren't diluted by crossing for other traits. Better texture because they mature naturally instead of being forced into harvest windows. You're not looking at magic. You're looking at what happens when flavor is the primary selection pressure instead of an afterthought. Now, here's the question everyone asks. If these taste so much better, why don't stores sell them? Simple. They don't ship well. They don't look uniform. They don't have 3-week shelf lives. A mortgage lifter tomato will crack if you sneeze on it. Dragon tongue beans bruise if you stack them wrong. Chioggia beets look weird to people who expect solid red. Commercial agriculture made a choice: consistency and convenience over flavor. That's not evil. It's logistics. But it means if you want real flavor, you grow it yourself, or you find someone local who does. Let's talk about growing these. 5 things that actually matter. 1. Soil depth determines flavor potential. Need at least 12 inches. Beans need 8. Beets need 10. Bigger roots pull more nutrients, which translates directly to sweeter, more complex flavor. 2. Consistent watering builds sugar content. Not frequent. Consistent. Deep watering every 3 to 4 days is better than shallow watering every day. You want roots to dig deep, searching for moisture. That stress response concentrates flavor. For beans, keep the soil evenly moist but never soggy. For beets, steady moisture prevents a woody texture that kills sweetness. Here's the test. Stick your finger 2 inches into the soil. If it's dry, water deeply until it drains from the bottom. If it's moist, leave it alone. 3. Sunlight creates the sugars you taste. 6 hours minimum of direct sun. Not filtered. Not dappled. Direct. If you don't have that, don't bother with tomatoes, grow beans, or leafy greens instead. Less sun means less sugar, which means less flavor. Non-negotiable. 4. Harvest timing locks in flavor. This is where most people kill their own results. Tomatoes, wait until they're fully colored and slightly soft to gentle pressure. Pick them early and you've already lost half the flavor development. Beans, pick when they snap cleanly, but before the seeds inside bulge the pod. Beets, harvest between 2 and 3 inches in diameter. Bigger isn't sweeter, it's woodier. 5. Get seeds from Baker Creek, Seed Savers Exchange, or any local seed swap. These sources preserve the exact genetics that create the flavor you just saw. Big box store plants are usually hybrids, even if labeled heirloom, which means diluted flavor potential. Alright, moment of truth. I'm going to taste all 3 heirlooms now, then compare them directly to store-bought versions? Mortgage lifter first. I'm taking a bite of this thick slice. No salt, no seasoning, nothing to hide behind. The flavor is... okay, it's sweet first, then acidic, then there's this deep, almost umami finish that lingers. It tastes like concentrated tomato. Like what your brain expects a tomato to taste like before the grocery store trains you otherwise. Store tomato. Same bite size. It's watery, vaguely tomato-flavored water with a bitter skin. The texture is mealy. There's no finish. The flavor disappears the second you swallow. Dragon tongue bean. I'm eating this raw because you can. The texture is crisp, almost juicy. The flavor is sweet, with a green, grassy note that's clean, not harsh. It tastes like spring. Store green beans. It's fibrous, slightly bitter, with an aftertaste that lingers wrong. You'd need to blanch this and butter it just to make it edible. The dragon tongue needs nothing. Chioggia beet. I roasted this one because that's how you maximize beet flavor. The earthiness is there, but it's layered first sweet like candy, then mineral, then this clean earth note that doesn't taste like dirt. The texture is tender, but holds its shape. Each ring has a slightly different intensity, so every bite changes as you chew. Store beet. Same roasting method. It's flat, just earthy, with a metallic finish. The texture is either too firm or turns to mush, depending on how long you cook it. It tastes like one thing the whole way through. The Chioggia tastes like 4 different beets in one bite. Here's what I proved today. Heirloom vegetables deliver objectively superior flavor when grown under the same conditions as hybrids. Not nostalgia. Not placebo. Actual, measurable differences in sugar content, aromatic compounds, and texture. You've been eating the logistics version of food your entire life. Vegetables bred to survive trucks and warehouses, not to taste like anything. But here's the thing, you don't have to accept that anymore. If you want to taste real food again, the kind of flavor that makes you stop mid-bite and actually pay attention, you've got 2 choices. Find someone local who grows heirlooms, or grow them yourself. It's not hard. It's just different priorities. You're part of a group that values real flavor over convenience. Drop a comment and declare which variety you're starting with, not asking, declaring. And if this changed how you see your grocery store produce aisle, share it with someone who deserves to know what they've been missing. I'll see you in the next one.